There's something about it. When you're handed a baton in a relay race, something changes. It stops being just about you and it becomes about your teammates too. You're running for them as well. Maybe you've seen it play out in a race that you've watched where somebody just guts it out and you can tell it's because they care about doing it for the team. It's amazing. There's something special about that.
Sometimes it is nerve-wracking, but it's exciting when it's a God-driven endeavor, and it's like, okay, let's do this. You just turn it over, and it's fun too when you feel like that, and then you start getting involved in a God thing.
Paul says it this way: in a race, only one person gets the prize, so run to win. As we think about this church and what this church is all about, we have spent the last 20 years running to win, doing our very best to serve this community and bring the hope of Jesus to this community. But if we're going to continue to do that, something has to change. Something has to stop limiting us from doing it to the fullest extent that's possible. And we've found it. We have found this space that will enable us to represent Jesus well to our community and beyond in ways we never even imagined. From its location, to its size, to its layout, it's gonna enable us as a church family to invest in the next generation like we've never been able to before. We're gonna be able to offer these classes and programs and inspirational services that will literally offer opportunities for people to have transformed lives, for you to grow your faith. We'll be able to ensure that everybody feels like they belong and like they fit. But we've got work to do. We still have a hill that needs climbing. The only way this works is if all of us, every last one of us, chooses to be all in. If every last one of us takes up this baton and chooses to be willing to sacrifice to make this a reality.
All in. I just love being at the ground floor. I'm not, on the actual committee that's making all the decision making, but I feel like, I'm gonna be there from the day one and be part of it, and that is just very exciting.
If we go all in, can you imagine what God will do? Can you imagine the 4-year-old? The 4-year-old who is so excited to come to church. They walk in the door, they sprint over to where they get checked in, and they can't wait to get to their room where they know they'll be able to run around and play with their friends, with the fun toys, and then also where they know that they'll be loved and experience and learn about how much God loves them. Can you imagine the 15-year-old who shows up on a Wednesday night to student life, wondering if anybody really cares, and seeing the care we put in to make sure that he or she feels valued, and then walks in there and hears the message of how God has a purpose for their life and how that changes them in a way that literally shifts the trajectory of their future. Imagine the 85-year-old who struggles to get around, who finally is able to get into church, find a seat easily, and is able to experience this vibrant church family community every week and in person. How special that is for them. Imagine your friend. Imagine that friend who you know is needing the hope of Jesus in their life. Imagine how every time they leave the grocery store, they look across the street and see this welcoming church. Every time they pass by on Highway 23, they have to stop and think, maybe there's something to that. And because it becomes so welcoming and they see this and hear about it throughout town, they show up for the first time, and how that changes everything for them.
Prior to me coming here 6 years ago, I never went to a church. Never been inside of a church. Coming in here for the first time, it was like I was welcomed home, right? Like I walked into a family that didn't know me, and it was just fantastic. So, and it's really, helped me in all sorts of different ways in my life, just having a relationship with Jesus.
Your life has been changed for the better because you have experienced God through this church community. Imagine the thousands more and I mean it, the thousands more that will experience that change, that life-altering moment because they experience a church that cares about them enough to make room for them. Imagine that future, because that's what's possible.
You come here and you're comfortable, you feel accepted, no matter who you are, your background. I see that watching people here is everybody's accepted, everybody's welcome, and that they are loved, and they care about where they're at, and they want to help them.
So in January of 2022, Pastor Mike, who is the founding pastor of Ripon Community Church, he handed me this baton. And it was a weighty moment for me. It was an intimidating moment. But what I've realized this past number of months doing this with all of you is that he didn't just hand this to me. He handed it to all of us. And the only way that this is gonna work, the only way that God is going to use this church to the fullest extent is if we do this together.
Here I belong. I walk in, people know me, I know them. I feel welcome just as in my humanness. In my plain old, my walk with Christ ain't perfect humanness. And that's just an incredible gift.
If we're all in together. So, I gotta ask you, are you all in?
I'm Morgan, and I'm going all in.
I'm all in.
We are all in.
I'm Jan, and I'm all in.
We're excited to be all in.
Let's go.